柔道の創始者である加納師範は、この弟子がたくさん増えてきて、自分が実際に指導できなくなった時に、この型を作って型の修行をすることによって柔道の修行を進められました。
To be in Amsterdam for the Kata World Champions for us is the first, and it's a proud moment for us and our families.
You get this exciting feeling when you see them walking in there as well, and you actually realize you are at the top of the sport.
We started judo at 6. When you have your twin brother, you can tell more than to another partner. So sometimes we fight more than normal couple.
Seeing the draw, we are expecting medals.
It's very nice to have my friends and family here because they can support me. Kata is very important for my life because I learn to focus and to stay relaxed and to empty your head.
Maximum efficiency is the principle of judo. And after rolling 40 knots, tight.
همه جودوکارای کشورها به ویژه اونایی که کاتا کار میکنن خیلی خوشحال هستن که هر ساله دور هم جمع میشن و همدیگه رو میبینن و این باعث دوستی میشه.
4回優勝できて本当に嬉しいです。
Concludiamo così questa bella avventura. Voglio dare tutto il resto del mio spazio ai giovani.
Can everybody hear me? I guess so.
Yes.
Thank you. I wasn't looking for confirmation, but I appreciate it. I don't know why I asked that question. I hope you can hear me. My name is Mohammed Hassani, and I'm the chair of Judo Canada Kata Committee. On behalf of our Kata Committee at Judo Canada, Mr. Kelly Palmer, Gerald Poirier, Madame Kim Berge, Mr. Shane Rooney, and our national coach, Goro Kumura, I welcome you to our second Zoom kata certification meeting. Judo Canada is committed to run these kata judging certification programs annually. We are committed to all provinces and territories to run minimum of 1 kata per year across Canada. And as you all know, due to COVID, we are not yet able to start seeing each other in person and run any kind of judo activity in national level yet face to face. So this is our second Zoom meeting, which, as you all know, we are doing a Katame No kata today. We have done a Nage no kata, all 5 sets in both languages, French and English, and was extremely well received. And we today we're here together to do the Katame No kata. As you all have noticed when you did your registration, there are 3 groups of participants today here. The first group are the one actually attending here today for the purpose of certification for kata judging, which basically curtail going through the course today. And after 3 o'clock till midnight, you have an access code that you receive from Judo Canada that you can access an online examination. All the questionnaires different. I wish you all the best of luck. And the second group today are the people who are simply observant. They either never seen Katame no kata or they're interested to learn it, but they don't want to become a judge yet. They just want to see how it works. And the third group, which we call it the professional development attendees, that we are committed to running these courses ongoing, not just for basically for people who have never experienced it, also for all of us. As we know, we are a sport of uchikomis, which means we keep repeating and repeating and repeating to become excellent at what we are already good at. So there are 27 to 28 people today attending who are already certified, various level of certification on Katame no kata, but they're also here to attend. Kata committee at Judo Canada level was established last November, and all committee members are very much committed to grassroots kata and also high performance development in Canada. And this is obviously one of our commitment for our high performance. The provinces, most provinces have created their own kata committee and territories, and we meet regularly. Actually, the next meeting will be March 16, and soon you will be able to access Judo Canada website, which will have a feature just for kata and all the information you need, videos, policies, criteria, handbooks, and handouts would be all available. So we are committed to stay in touch with you. We are running various tournaments across Canada, a couple of them coming up at Edmonton, Saint Jean Richelieu, Pacific International. So we are going very aggressive this year, and hopefully we get to see you in person on the mat, which is would be ideal situation to practice and increase our knowledge in kata. I'd like to recognize a few special guests, which we are honored to be with us here today. We have Sensei Mo Oi from Manitoba is attending. It's an honor to have him here today. Thank you, Sensei. We have Sensei Duncan Vagnali from Ontario. It's an honor to have you. We have Sensei Jun Takahashi. It's a great honor, Sensei, to have you with us. And of course, many judo celebrities. Mark is here today. And also we have most of our provincial kata committee chairs are here with us. We have Madame Berge, we have Mr. Gary Sova here today with us. We have Patrick Rafi, we have John Morris. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for promoting this within your provinces, within your region and territories. We are here to help you. I just will elaborate a bit about what this next 2.5 hours is going to look like. At Judo Canada Kata Committee, we truly believe in order to become a good kata judge, you need to be an excellent kata practitioner, meaning that you have to know your kata in order to be a good judge, an excellent knowledgeable judge. As you all know, kata is a long road, it takes years and years and years of practice. And the participants who come in front of us as judges, they need to have a confidence that us as judges, we know our kata. We almost need to know our kata better than they do, or as much as they do, in order to be able fairly and accurately and consistently to be able to judge their performance. So we are starting today with our national coach, Gordo Kimura, going through the technical side of Katame No kata. As you all know, Katame No kata started as one of the first katas that Kano Sensei started. Nage no kata and Katame no kata started in 1885, 86, right after Kano Sensei introduced Judo. And he truly believed in practicing kata. I always use these statement of his. He says there's two ways to practice kata. There's two ways to practice Judo, randori and kata. And he was committed to that all his life. And that's what he came up with 15 techniques of Gokyo in Nage no kata. And as you know, later on, almost the same year, actually, a few months later, he came up with the Katame No kata, which, as you all know, is divided to 3 sections. We have Osai Waza, we have a Shime Waza, and we have Kanses Waza, which we will be reviewing today. Gord is going to walk us through the technical side of kata, as I mentioned, and at the end, and also between him and I, and also we have an honor of having Shane Rooney and Kelly Palmer, which are internationally well-respected Katame No kata practitioner, and we will have their expertise here. So we will interject in back and forth with the the point of judges and attention to judging points, and also a technical side of the technique back and forth. But we will dedicate a section at the end, half an hour, 45 minutes, to actually review the judging criteria for kata. But primarily, we will focus on actually reviewing the Katame No kata and learning Katame No kata. Without further ado, I'd like to pass on the floor to our beloved national coach, Gordo Kimura. Thank you, Gord.
Thank you, Mohammed. For those that see me on the screen under Nicholas Gill, if you can pin that screen, then you'll get a bigger picture. What I'm using is iMovie as a tool to show you the screen rather than show you the big screen. It's just a little more condensed, but it allowed me to be more accurate in my scrolling. So if you just take a moment to make sure that you have my screen pinned, which is currently an orange screen that's listed under Nicholas Gill, then that'll be the start. Just for your information, the video that I'm using is a compilation of videos from the Kodokan Summer Kata Camp, which if you've gone to that, you know that's a very good event, very informative. They covered all the katas, all 7 katas, and they often spend 5 hours per kata. Obviously, we don't have that much time, so we're just going to take a look at some of the key points that they presented in the Katame No kata, as well as I'm using the Japan team as another example where we can get more precise. My plan is to have a pause after each section so that if there are any quick questions, we can address them then. If not, we certainly could put it into the chat forum, and Kelly is currently monitoring that, so we can bring it up there. Thank you, Kelly. So are there any questions? I shouldn't ask that because everybody's muted. So I will start, and if you have any questions, just put it into the chat. The first part of the video will be, the audio will be from the Kodokan, but after that, I've lowered that audio off and you'll hear my sweet voice instead. So you'll go through that, and again, hopefully you'll find this helpful. So I'm going to have to switch onto my share screen again. And what you should see on your screen is the Kodokan introductory screen for Katame No kata. So Mohammed, can you give me a thumbs up that that's what you see? Good, thank you very much. And we're just going to let it run at the beginning now.
The Katame no kata were established in 1884 and 5 after the Nage no kata. They're made up of 3 sets of techniques, each consisting of 5 representative techniques from Osaikomi-waza, Shime-waza, and Kansetsu-waza. By practicing the kata, the idea is to master the theoretical basis for executing and evading each technique. In 1882, Master Jigoro Kano founded Kodokan Judo, establishing the Randori method based on Nagewaza and Katame-waza. Since then, theoretical research has led to the introduction of numerous new techniques. Together, the Nage no kata and the Katame no kata form the Randori no kata, which were established to enable practitioners to understand and master the principles.
At this point, I'm just going to go over a couple of the definitions that we will refer to throughout the kata. So I just want to make sure that everybody remembers what these are. First, kyoshi, the kneeling posture.
The tori draws his left foot back and kneels, turning his right knee outwards. This kneeling posture is called kyoshi, kuraidori. All action commences from this posture. The right knee is more or less at a right angle. The left leg and hip should be aligned. He places his right hand on his knee and allows his left hand to hang naturally.
Shiko, the method of moving on one knee.
Let's take another look at how the tori steps forward and back. He then kneels in kyoshi, stands up, and assumes shizen hontai.
Okay, lying down and sitting up.
And now let's see what the uke does when he lies back or gets up. He places his right hand on the mat in front of his left knee with the fingers turned to the left. Supporting his body with his right hand and left foot, he lies back. To get up, he supports his body with his right hand and left foot to lift his hips, draw his right foot back, and resume the kyoshi kneeling posture.
It is important to maintain proper and consistent distance between toma and chikama and demonstrate the use of kyoshi throughout the kata. We will see how tori moves from toma to chikama and then slightly forward to apply the technique. For the opening ray, both uke and tori should be synchronized in their movements. Have straight backs. Their angle of the bow should be consistent. Fingers closed, hands close to the body, heels together, be wearing proper jidogi, and consistent distance from the tape. Maintain good posture in kyoshi. Don't let your shoulders round and keep your head in line with your back. The same in kneeling position. Back should be straight, shoulders back, hips down, and elbows closer to the body. When advancing in shiko, keep your upper torso straight and do not let your trailing knee lift off the mat. Distance is important. Uke's shoulders should be at the center line. Tori will stand, turn, and step first with his left foot to the side of uke at the toma position. Tori will lower himself, perform kyoshi, and then move from toma to chikama, 2 strides, kyoshi again, slightly ahead, and then with 2 hands, secure uke's right arm. I am pausing at this time. Oh, hopefully pausing. There we go. Now the section is an example by the world champion, 3-time world champion team from Japan. I've selected them because of this angle is from the Amsterdam tournament, but the angle is just there, is great because it's very close. and you can see it much better. So I'm just going to now go through a bit of the main points again of this opening ceremony. And if you have any questions, we can quickly address them at this time. So let me just do that first. So this is the bow-in. You can see that they have tapes put down. I'm not sure if you can see, but please note that Uke's back is very straight. The hands are very proper and the fingers are tight. The heels are close together and they have their straight back when they bow. So when they straighten out, this is at the edge of the contest area. So they would be taking 2 steps forward, 1, 2 to come to the tape, and then turn to shomen. Again, the formal bow where the hands will now slide to the front is very evident. You can see the hand position, the incline of the back, and the heels together, straight back. After the bow there, they will face each other. You notice that their knee will drop to where their foot is. 1, 2. Lower themselves down, hip on the heels, and then again, bow. This Tori on the right side has a bit of a curve on the back. You can see that Uke is much lower and much flatter and much straighter. And then coming up, again, right foot, left foot, and taking then 1 stride forward. And that would be now where they go down into Kyoshi. And Uke would now advance 1 stride forward. Kyoshi again, put his hand down in front and turn onto his back such that his shoulder is lined up with the center line. Okay, so that's the opening ceremonies. Any questions? Nope. And we're going to move on. Is that a question? Nope. Okay, moving on. Demonstrate the setup with proper hand and body placement, the logical action and reaction. In Katame No Kata, Tori initiates and Uke reacts. For each Osaikomiwaza, Uke must demonstrate 3 attempts to escape, and Tori shows the respective reactions to which should be connected and logical. Escapes are not defined in the competition rules, but are found in the Kodokan textbook as examples. Tori's reactions are not defined. For all, show realism and logic. Here, Tori controls Uke's arm, left shoulder, and has pressure on the ribs. Escape number 1, Uke shifts off his back and reaches to lock Tori's left elbow. Tori reacts by posting with his leg, turning into a Shio position, keeping his hips low and maintaining pressure on Uke's upper body. This is one way. After failing escape number 1, Uke attempts escape number 2, where he creates space to push his right knee underneath Tori. Tori avoids by sitting through into a kesa position. Failing escape number 2, Uke attempts escape number 3, where he grabs Tori's belt and tries to bridge Tori over, but Tori blocks by posting his leg and controls Uke using his whole body. We will review each technique from a different angle. Okay. Now, just to allude to what I mentioned about the Kodokan textbook, this is an excerpt of the textbook, and you can see that here they describe Uke tries to escape, for example, by putting his left hand on his right hand and applying an arm lock. That was the first escape attempt. Second one was inserting his right knee. Third one was to try to bridge over his left shoulder. So these are the escapes that you see in competition, and therefore these are the escapes that you want to always try to attempt. But the reaction of these vary by each team. So you have to then look at how the action reaction occurs, whether it's strong, whether it's logical in how the defense is, and so on. So it's not always black and white. So just to go through this team here again, this is taking it from the opening ceremonies where Tori will walk to the Toma position beside go down on his knee, open into Kyoshi, close, moves up 2 strides to Chikama, and then from there, slightly ahead, takes 2 hands to grab the arm, secure it tightly underneath his armpit, reaches underneath, top of the shoulder with his right hand, and just sits through with his legs. From here, you can see that Tori or Uke will move to the side and take 2 hands on the arm and try to create an arm lock there. This reaction of Tori is to post with his right hand. Some will post with their left leg more, but this case it's more the right hand. After that, it fails. He will now try escape number 2, where he will try to dig his right knee underneath. And that's where Tori will sit through into a kesa position to avoid that. And since he already has the belt grabbed, Uke will now attempt escape number 3, which is the bridge over. And at that point, again, Tori posts and blocks that action with his left leg. Then from there, there's a submission. And basically, they return to their original starting position. And puts his hand down and moves back into Chikama position. Now I'm going to play this regular speed because you can see how quickly it's performed.
That step that goes forward, is that called Toma?
There's a little slight step forward.
The far one.
Yeah, I'll come back to that one for a second.
Yeah, well, that's just the distance. It's the far distance. And Kyoshi is the side posture. Kyoshi is this. Yeah, the side posture.
Can we have not conversation there, please? Gord will entertain questions. Thank you.
Watch this.
Okay, I think the question was about the distance. Let me review that with you for a sec. So he stands and he goes down. At this position here, he is at Toma. That's about 1.2 meters away from the side of Uke.
That's our position.
Toma. Then he will close his Kyoshi and advance 90 centimeters ahead. And this is the Chikama position, which is 30 centimeters away from Uke.
That little movement.
Okay, at this point here, he will advance slightly, move ahead slightly. So this is just a little, Kelly and I call this a crow hop. It's just a little movement forward to get into the close position of Uke. So in a way, there's Toma, Chikama, and the close position, which is just moving in slightly. At the end of the kata or technique here, I'm just going to move up here to the end. They return to their original position, show the original position, and then unwind themselves by putting the hand down, the arm, right arm down here. And then he has to move back into the Chikama position.
A half step.
Yeah, little stride back. And now he's into the Chikama position. At this point, when we go into the next technique, the kata-katame, he will then move ahead back in to apply the kata-katame. So does that help clarify the movement of Tori? No further questions? Okay.
Kelly, Gord, if I may interject for a few seconds. Gord explained the Chikama and Toma required distances. As judges, we need to be cognizant of these distances. We are obligated to make sure the distances that Tori demonstrates, his technique or approaches or backing up, is all according to the rules. And any of these distances are not followed according to the rules. We have to take a 3 marks, which is a medium mistake. So we have to, it's not just the movement to know the names, also the distances that Gord indicated are very crucial. In Katame No kata, we have, you don't see a lot of kuzushi conversation here because it's a osai waza. So we need to make sure the steps that Gord already described on behalf of Tori is demonstrated as such, and escapes are 3. If any of the escapes are missing, or Uke performs escape and Tori is not reacting to it accordingly, and it has to be a specific action on behalf of a Uke in all Osai wazas and Shime and Kansas waza in order to be considered as escape. Old days, 10, 12, 15 years ago, the Uke had to just demonstrate 3 escapes. Now is actually coordinated and arranged escapes that as a judge, you're obligated to ensure you'll see that. And if you don't see that, if there's 1 escape missing or 2 escape missing, you have to make sure there's a medium mistake taken out. Thank you, Gord.
Yes, thank you. Again, very important that you establish the distance, because you're going to have this all through the Osai Komi-waza, the distance, as well as the rest of the other 2 sets. So be familiar with the term toma, chikama, and that little movement inward or outward to apply or get away from the technique. Okay. All right. Also, for Osai Komi-waza, I'll reiterate that this is a case where the techniques are per the Kodokan textbook, but they are done, everybody follows those. It's the matter of the reaction that's really you're looking for too, is does the Uke really mean it, and does Tori really mean the defense? So it has to look realistic, and often unless you've done these, you really don't know how effective that escape might have been. So it's very challenging to establish whether the term or the technique had realism and effect. All right, moving on. For kata katame, Tori lifts Uke's right arm with both hands and pushes the arm against the right side of his neck and diagonally across his face. Then encircles his arm around Uke and holds palm to palm while lowering his head towards the mat. Tori puts pressure on Uke's chin. Tori's right knee is in Uke's ribs, while the left leg is posted to the side. Tori's center of gravity should be low during transitions. Escape number 1, Uke pushes his elbow hard into Tori's head toward the corner. Tori reacts by dropping his left knee and lowering his body. Escape number 2, Uke tries to create space to push his right knee underneath Tori. Tori then avoids by sitting through in the kesa position, while maintaining control of Uke's head and arm. For escape number 3, Uke tries to flip over his shoulder, but Tori reacts by pulling his hands and body back. So here again, we'll just go through it step by step. This is after he's moving back toward Uke. And in this case here, we didn't talk about the hands, but this is the case where the hands for Tori are the reverse of what it was for Kesa. You have the right hand with the palm facing down, upwards, and the left hand palm facing the other direction. So the idea is to pick it up the opposite hand position than you did on Kesa and the rest of the techniques. For this kata katame only, the hands are picking it up such that now you can push it across Uke's face with both hands, keep the pressure there, and then you can see how the hand slides underneath around the head. And now he's clasped his hands together, they're palm on palm. And you can see that there's pressure toward the chin. There should be pressure by Tori toward Ukei's chin. And at the same time, the left leg is posted to the side. Once he's established this, the first escape is for Ukei to try to really jam his elbow against Tori's head to create space. You notice that the reaction there is that Tori will drop his knee down and lower his body even further to the front corner. Ukei is trying to push toward this to the front corner rather than push to the side. So because the push is in the front corner, that's where Tori now drops his left knee. That escape doesn't work. You can see the power that's created by Tori. Okay, Tori will now move into escape number 2 attempt. To do this, he has to move his hip away a bit so that he can get his right knee underneath Tori, and Tori will react by just sitting through into a kesa position while maintaining his two-hand clasp around Ukei's head. On the next escape here, the third one, you can see how Ukei will now shift his body angle and try to flip right over. And at this point here, Tori needs to pull it back and slam Ukei back onto the mat. All the while, this comparator, the Tori keeps his hips very low. And then there's the submission, and then we put it back. Arm back to Ukei's side, and this is where he moves back into the Chikama position.
That's that little step there.
Yes, it's a little push back into the 30 centimeter range. Okay, and I'll just play this one regular speed. Again, it's much quicker. Any questions on that one? Okay.
Gord, if I may, the points as a judge, you need to pay attention. Gord mentioned it when the arm of a Ukei goes across his face. It's very important where Tori placed that arm. The manual indicates that that arm has to go across and it's going to be over Ukei's right ear. So it's across his face and has to be tightly controlled by Tori. Again, the same requirement for all Osaiwaza. Ukei requires to demonstrate 3 very clear directional escape. And every time there's a application of escape by Ukei, you as a judge need to see a reaction to the escape of a Ukei by a Tori. The distances are the same. If there are escapes are missing or distances are followed, again, a medium mistake. One thing that I like to indicate is when does the technique ends and when does the technique starts. As soon as Tori puts Ukei back to the position he started it, and he gets up and he sits up and puts Ukei back together, like here, for example, and moves back, this is when that technique ends. Anything happens, if he falls, loses his balance, or any mistakes will be considered as a mistake for the next technique. So this is very important. Sometimes it happens more on a other katas. Something is missing. For example, if this Tori had forgotten his cell phone in his judogi and he's finished the Katame No one technique and he's trying to move to the next technique, he will lose the cell phone at this point. The point will be taken off for the next technique. Thanks, Gord.
Sure. So here's an example where he just moved into the Chikama position with Kyoshi. That's the point where Mohammed is now indicating that's the cutoff where the next action, anything happens after that will be applied to the next scoring of the next technique. Okay. After completion, Tori moves to Chikama. Kyoshi, back to Toma, Kyoshi stands, then moves to Toma over top of Uke's head, 1.2 meters, Kyoshi, Shikama, Kyoshi, and then moves slightly ahead. Dropping to both knees, Tori slides both hands palm down under Uke's shoulders and grabs Uke's belt with thumbs in and moves slightly ahead to tighten. Tori draws both arms in, closes his armpit to tighten up the grip, and presses down with his chest. Uke's escape methods are found in the Kokan textbook. Tori's reactions may vary. Escape number 1, Uke locks Tori's head and motions from one side to the other, with energy trying to roll Tori over. Tori reacts by posting his leg. Escape number 2, Uke twists and inserts one hand under Tori, who reacts by lowering and pushing back chest on chest, stopping Uke's hip rotation. Escape number 3, Uke moves away from Tori while pushing Tori's shoulders, then flips his feet over, but Tori reacts, keeping low on Uke by pushing with his head and face. Tori pulls his arms in as he pushes forward. After, Tori moves back to Toma, then moves to Toma beside Uke, goes down to Kyoshi, advances to Chikama, Kyoshi. Okay. For Yokoshio Katame, you see, oops, wrong one. Sorry, or Kamishio. Again, moving from Toma to Chikama, Kyoshi, and then coming slightly inwards, dropping to both knees, both hands sliding under the shoulders with the palm facing the mat, catching the top of the shoulder and arms of Uke, grabs the belt, cinches it in, moves his hip in slightly, lowers it so he can put maximum weight on top of Uke's chest, and gives a signal. Here again, Uke will control the top of Uke's head, neck area, and push to one side to try to get a reaction going to the other side. Tori will react by posting his left leg out to stop that motion. Now for escape number 2, Uke will try to dig his arm underneath and turn onto his front of his stomach. But again, Tori is blocked by shifting his weight back to the other side and pushing with his chest back into Uke to get him back on his back. At this point, number 3, Uke is trying to get some distance away from Tori, but Tori is trying to still maintain a low posture position on top of Uke. Uke will try to flip over, but then Tori will cinch it back in and put weight back on top of Uke so that it blocks that flip over. The legs are split. In some cases, the legs are further back, but this team is able to demonstrate a good wide stance in posture and preventing any further action. After the tap, then they return to their starting position. Just take a sec to reset. And then Tori will push back and go into the Kyoshi position. At the end of this technique, he will then return to the Toma position, 2 strides back, Kyoshi, stand, and be ready to move on to the next technique. Questions or comments? Okay. Got a question? Yes.
Here, I'll answer this one verbally. John Roof had asked, should Tori use live toes or dead toes to start? And frankly, it depends upon the technique. Some of the techniques we just saw, Kamishiho Gatame, Tori does start with dead toes.
Yeah.
There. But
Thank you.
then jumps right into live toes. There are other techniques we'll see where they're definitely live and stay live all the way along. So a good lawyer answer, it depends.
Okay, so when we say live toes, we're meaning that the toes are on the mat. When we say dead toes, we're referring to how it flattens and then the toes are no longer on the mat. Okay. That's just
And also as a judge, you need to be very cognizant of dead and live toes. Where is requires to be dead has to be dead, and when it requires to be live, got to be live. Otherwise, you will taking a mark off.
correct.
If I can, Mohamed, is this a small mistake for the toes?
Yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
a small mistake.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a good time to ask those type of questions. We have Mohammed as our judging leader, and you can give us the indication of what type of mistake it is. Okay, and then he's ready to move on. So let's move on to Yokoshio Gatame. Note how Tori moves Uke's right arm and the alternating of his hands. Tori seizes Uke's belt and then collar with knees tight against Uke's side. Tori uses his whole body to control Uke. From the other angle, note how Tori takes hold of Uke's belt.
Takes the belt there,
Pushing down Uke's other hand, and then takes hold of Uke's collar. In some cases, judges prefer to have Uke's left foot down on the mat. Escape number 1, Uke pushes with his hands and attempts to hook Tori's head with his leg. Tori reacts by turning and lowering his head, thereby using the back of his head to block Uke's leg. Escape number 2, Uke tries to dig his right leg under Tori to create separation or to scissor the leg. Tori reacts by sitting through into a kesa position in either direction. Escape number 3, Uke grabs Tori's belt and bridges Tori over.
Took him right over.
Here is a summary of the Yokoshio escapes. Number 1, he pushes with hands and hooks Tori's head. Tori reacts by lowering his head. Number 2, Uke attempts to insert his leg under Tori. Tori reacts by sitting into a kesa position to prevent entry. Tori can sit through in either direction, facing front or to the back. For escape number 3, Uke grabs Tori's belt and bridges them over. Tori reacts by posting with his head, or in some cases posts with his leg, or a combination of leg and head.
See, those are
Tori
just
decides how he wants to react to Uke's escape attempt.
Yeah, and he said earlier, because there's so many different variations, like this couple will do something a little bit different than this one. But it has to be something that makes sense. Yeah, logical. And then all these here, you notice the feet are out here. Okay, sorry. Is the question, what was that question?
Somebody's mic is on, Gord, and they speak to the other person beside them.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I can respond to that. It was Brian Jones asking that each pair is doing something a little bit different. And yes, absolutely, you will see that. What you do have to watch for now, Gord mentioned this at the beginning, way back when a number of us learned Katame No kata. And in fact, when Gord and I went to the World Championships in 2008, Uke really could do any escape. It was not set, and now Uke must perform the 3 escapes that Gord is talking about. Of course, there's going to be some variations in how Uke actually goes about that, but Tori's response can be wide open, but Uke must perform the set 3 escapes rather than just any 3 escapes.
Correct. So when we say how Tori reacts might vary, this is a good example where in Yokoshio, the number 3 escape, you might see Tori block it with his head. Other people will swing around and use their leg to block it. Other teams might use a combination of head and foot. That's where the variations occur. So again, there is no one way that Tori can react. However, you have to assess whether that reaction would have made sense, whether it's logical, whether it's in the right direction of the attack or the escape. So there's a lot of things that you have to assess, even though it's not written down black and white, that this is what Tori does. But as Kelly mentioned, in competition, those 3 escape methods are standard, even though you don't see it in the criteria for evaluation.
And also, Gord, if I may say, as a judge's point of view, you need to see on a systematic manners the escape. For example, you cannot expect, you can allow the Uke does the 3rd escape for a first and the second for a second, or first for a third. It has to be in a sort of systematic way, and Tori reacts to him accordingly. So if any of these escapes are sort of changed, it's a loss point.
Okay. The other thing I just want to reiterate is the definition of when I say post. Post for me is extending your head or leg to block that direction of escape. So that's what I mean when I say post.
Gord?
Yes.
In the beginning of Yokoshio Katame, when Tori comes up, and you mentioned that some judges like when the left arm that's under the head is pressed against the mat.
Yes.
And now some Uke and Tori, the size difference would make that impossible. Yes. But it's something that is deducted a score for if it's not?
No. In competition, that's a very good question. In competition, sometimes you'll see drop his head right to the mat, as you might or you were explaining. Others will turn their head to the side or even project it more toward Uke's head. There are variations in how to block that technique, but you have to look at whether Uke is actually trying to escape with that and determine if Tori is actually doing something effective to block effective escape move.
Okay, but even before that, at the first initial setup,
yeah,
is Tori's arm, does it have to be like his left elbow, does that have to be in contact with the mat or no?
His left arm right there?
Like when he first puts it on?
Yeah, when he first puts it on, basically that's the position. He's got a tight hold of the collar and of course tight hold of the belt. So you can see that his head is turned. He's not facing Uke's leg. He is turned. But how he reacts once he gives the attacking signal is Uke initiates it, and then Tori has to now figure out the best method to stop that escape.
Thank you.
And I think so, there's no requirement for Tori to have his left elbow down on the mat. In fact, I know I've worked with Ukes of different sizes, and sometimes I'm a small person. Sometimes I can get my elbow down. Sometimes I can't. Really, look for control.
Also, just mentioning the handwork when Tori is picking up the arm and controlling the arm. You see that how he picks it up. He uses both hands, one facing up, one facing down on his palms. Picks it up with both hands, places it down beside his knee, shifts his left hand into the armpit of Uke, slides his left knee forward into the armpit there, maintains the left grip on the armpit, slides his left hand to the belt, grabs the belt, then feeds that to his right hand, and then onto around the neck. So that's the entry. At the end, in terms of how to reset, you can see that he now picks up the arm, Uke's right arm, and basically places it back and pushes back into the Chikama position. So the replacing of the arm down to the side, some teams are less formal on that. They just sort of toss it back. Usually you'd like to see good formal replacement of that arm on the side.
Gord, if I may, Gord mentioned a lot of points on behalf of Uke and Tori. I'd like you to remind you that any of these items, any of these actions, if I can call it, on behalf of Tori Uke, if it's missing, you as a judge, you will take a mark off. It's a matter of it being a small or medium. As you know, if it's a principle of a technique is being affected by it, you'll take a medium mistake off, and if it's a small point, you take 1 point off.
And Mohammed, just while we're talking about mistakes, there's a question in the chat. Gord was talking about, and you were talking about doing the escapes in a systematic way. And the question, what kind of mistake if escapes are not done in a systematic way?
Well, as Gord mentioned, that every escape that Uke tries, Tori reacts to that escape accordingly by posting or by lowering his body or opening both legs. By you mixing these things up, the whole action changes, and they're actually immediate mistakes. Neither Tori will not be able to follow Uke's, and you cannot go back and forth. So if one is missing or is being changed, I will take the definitely a 3 points off. And if that causes Tori not to post or his toes not being live because of the misarrangement of the escapes, obviously you take another couple of small mistake off. So can be actually, by the time you're done, you could lose 5 points by not following the proper escapes.
I think one of the ways that I look at it, we've all done judo, we've all been on the mat. So if someone is doing something, just think, does that make judo sense? Would I do this in randori? If Uke tries an escape and it doesn't work, and they go into something which is completely opposite, it's like a combination you see in belt exams where the candidate is asked to do a combination. So they'll say, all right, I'll do Ippon Seoinage into Juji Gatame. That makes sense. What if they say, I'll do Juji Gatame into Ippon Seoinage? Of course, that doesn't make sense. So look for just, does it make good judo sense? Is probably the easiest way to start.
And also, thank you for mentioning that. Very correct. And also, one more point is that kata it's called arranged movements. These are arranged. So if you misarrange them, so you'll be penalized for it.
Good. Moving on then. Gonna go into Kazuri Kamishio.
Tori moves back to Chikama. Kyoshi back to Toma. Kyoshi stands, moves over to the Toma position above Uke's head, goes down. Kyoshi moves ahead to Chikama. Kyoshi and moves further ahead diagonally to Uke's right shoulder. Tori picks up Uke's right arm using both hands to wrap the arm and grab Uke's collar with fingers inside, and then grips Uke's belt with his left hand. From the other angle, we can see how Tori moves to the diagonal corner, lifts up Uke's arm, grabs the collar as well as the belt, cinches himself closely to Uke, and puts weight down on top. Escape number 1. Uke moves to his side and pulls his right arm in, then pushes against Uke's thigh with a large movement, trying to turn to his front. Tori then sits through into kiss position. With escape number 2, Uke digs his hand and knee under Tori's chin, but Tori pushes Uke back, keeping close contact and a low center of gravity with the chest and hip low. There is little space in between. Escape number 3. Uke grabs Tori's belt and bridges Tori toward the corner. Tori reacts by posting his left leg to block and presses his chest down on top of Uke. At the end of Osaikomi, Tori will move back to Toma. Uke will sit up and they will both go into Kyoshi and fix their jidogis. Okay. Chikama, slight movement ahead, move into the diagonal corner, 2 hands picking up the arm, fingers inserted behind the collar, grab the belt, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Resets, puts the arm back, goes back into the Chikama position, back 2, and fix up their jidogi. So once again, the first escape, you can see how Tori uses his left hand to push against Tori, or Uke pushes against Tori's neck, and his right hand is pushing away on Tori's other leg. Tori will sit through in a kesa position. Then for escape number 2, he's trying to dig his arm underneath the chin, and Tori will then push himself back over top. And escape number 3, grabs the belt and tries to bridge, and Tori reacts by posting his left leg out. And then reset. Okay, this is the last of the Osaikomi waza. So they would go back into Kyoshi and reset by putting the jidogi back in proper fashion. There was a question about how the arm is placed back. I mentioned how you normally take 2 hands to place Uke's arm back to his side. Is it penalized? Again, that might be a question for Mohammed, but it might be an adjustment factor. There's the valuation factor too of a half a point if you feel that that was sloppy. But that was the question.
Gord is correct. For placing arms or body parts of Uke back in all katas, especially happens in Goshin Jitsu and Kimia the same. There's no mark taken off, but there's a fluidity mark that used to be. Now they have given the judges permission to take a half a mark off or add a mark half a point on, and that's a discretion of a judge. So answer your question, if the arm of a Uke was not done nicely or etiquettely in judo etiquettes, I would personally take a half a point off, but it's not a small or medium mistake, no.
Okay. All right, let's move into Shimiwaza. Here again, 1 attempt rather than 3 attempts to escape. Uke shall demonstrate 1 single attempt to escape, and Tori shall continue the strangulation or choke. Tori moves to the Toma position beside Uke and advances to Chikama. Kyoshi moves the head slightly, inserts his fingers into the collar of Uke, sweeps his right hand around, inserts his thumb into the collar, keeping his knees tightly pressed against Uke's sides. Tori applies pressure by leaning his body forward, pushing with his right hand and pulling with his left hand as he applies pressure. Oke attempts to defend by using both hands to push against Tori's elbows. When leaning forward, Tori keeps control by using his feet against Oke's legs. When completed, Tori moves back to Chikama and then back to Toma.
Okay, so from here, lies down, quickly moves to Toma position, Chikama position, picks up the arm, places it to the side, moves ahead. Left hand, fingers inserted into the collar deeply, sweeps the arm, climbs over top, keeps his knees tight, sweeps his right arm around the head and inserts the thumb into the collar. When he applies pressure, leans forward, controls the with his feet, and submission by Uke, and then puts everything back and moves back into the Chikama position. Okay, so don't think there's any questions there.
Gord, if I may, the difference here in Shimewaza and moving to Kanseswaza with Osaiwaza is that in Osaiwaza, as a judge, you were you were paying attention to 3 attempts to escape on behalf of Uke and 3 very clear reaction by Tori. In Shimewaza and Kanseswaza, you're only looking for 1 escape. And if in this case, as you saw, the escape for Uke was pushing the elbow in, and the more he pushes, the tighter Uke becomes by hooking up the side of the body and just leaning forward. So you need to see that reaction. And if you don't see that, again, is a 3 marks off, is a medium mistake if you don't see the pushing the elbow in. Thank you.
Okay, so both arms onto the elbow. All right, moving ahead. This is where we move ahead to the rear chokes.
Tori moves to Toma position behind Oke about 1.2 meters, then advances to Chikama, and then slightly inwards. Tori's right knee does not go on Oke's back. For Hataka Jime, Tori encircles Oke's neck and uses the edge of his wrist on Oke's throat and clasps his hands together. Tori will use his shoulder, face, and wrist to control Uke. Tori will step back with his left knee and draw Uke back. Once Uke submits, Tori will move ahead and release. While moving back, Tori breaks Uke's balance.
Okay. One of the things to note here is that as Tori encircles the arm around, it's not step by step. Everything comes together, the hands, the shoulder, the head, all encircle together. And then once it's ready to go, there's a slight squeeze, and then there's a movement back, so that at this point it's not a very good angle, but what you will see is that Uke's neck area, head area is all controlled by Tori's cheek, by his hands, and by the shoulder. This being Hataka Jime, what you should see is the wrist part of the wrist edge of Uke's right hand, right across the throat of Uke. This is basically in the front, so It's an air choke using the edge of Uke's right hand, right wrist.
As all the points that Gord just mentioned on behalf of Tori, the tightness of the head and the control of the shoulder by Tori. Also, you need to look for a specific escape by Uke also. Uke grabs close to the elbow with the left hand and with the right hand above the almost close to the shoulder area of the right arm of a Tori. So it's not just Uke trying to escape whatever he can grab. It's very specific area that he grabs and he pulls. And also for tapping, he needs to tap twice, either with a hand, minimum of twice, or with his feet. Once is not sufficient. If there's once, you take a mark off as a judge.
Yes, sorry I don't have the good angle on this one, but as Mohammed explained, you should see all those components.
Very Jimmy. Tori reaches under to grab Uke's left lapel, pulls it down, and reaches along Uke's throat to grab the left collar deeply. Tori then grabs Uke's right lapel, goes cheek to cheek, and puts his right shoulder behind Uke's neck. Tori moves slightly back, starting with his left knee, pulling with his right hand and pulling down with his left hand, supporting Uke's body with his right knee. Uke tries to escape by pulling down with both hands.
So there again, you can hear the double foot tap quite clearly. On this one here, there is a slight rotation, and that's why Uke twists slightly to his right. And Mohammed explained, you can see how high that right hand of Uke is grabbing on top of Tori's shoulder.
And Gord, I received a question in chat. It's probably worthwhile to raise it for everybody because we can't see it well from this camera angle. Where does Tori's right knee go? And for Hadaka Jime and Okurieri Jime, they're almost the same. It's not, you used to see the knee going directly into Uke's back, almost pressing into the spine. And that's not done anymore. I like to say it's in between. So it's not pressing into the back, and it's not completely on the outside. I actually aim to have some contact with my knee right around the right shoulder blade, or maybe just the right outside of it. You're trying not to support Uke as much with your knee in Hadaka Jime, a little bit more in Okuri-eri, and then of course we'll talk about kata in a second, which is a slightly different animal.
Right.
And Kelly, thank you for describing that. Kelly is correct. Used to be in the middle of the back, but for the judging point of view, all you're paying attention to is that the knee on the way of a Tori to pull Uke back or not. As Kelly mentioned, some people feel to have it slided outside, and some people have it to the rib, the back side of the rib. It's up to you, as long as it's not blocking your movement to pull Uke backwards, and that's all the judge looks for.
Thank you. Yeah, the comment I made here, Tori supports Uke's back on his right knee, was something that was said at the Kodokan, but in competition, it's not a full support, it's just more of a placement there. Okay. Now, kataha.
And grabs the left lapel. He then hooks the left arm at the elbow and lifts. With the left palm inwards, thrusts his left hand behind Uke, pulling with his right hand and turning slightly to the right by moving his right leg backward. Uke reacts by grabbing his left wrist with his right hand and pulls it down sharply.
You have to leave room for Uke to come back so Tori can choke him.
With both hands on Tori's upper arm, and then submits by tapping his foot on the mat. For kata hajime, Uke grabs his wrist and pulls down. Osai Komiwaza, 3 escape attempts. Shimewaza, only 1 escape attempt.
Okay. So for this one here, this is different than the other in that there's a definite rotation. But first, initially, there's the lifting and hooking at the elbow and driving your left palm or left hand behind, okay, with the palm facing you. The right knee will turn, as well as okay's body will turn. You want to maintain good posture as Tori so that you got good control of okay.
You see Tori opens up his legs so Uke can come back. It's much easier to choke him when he's leaning backwards as to being sitting up straight.
Yeah. Yes. Draw him back, and this is where he is resting on Tori's leg.
I find it's helpful for these three techniques to think about just increasing rotation. So Harakajime, straight back, Okurieri, little bit of rotation, but not much, and then Kataha, even more. I like to compare it to Nagano kata with the Koshiwaza set, where the first technique is Uke Goshi, a lot of rotation, you're throwing off to the corner. Second technique, Harai Goshi, little bit, not as much. And then last one, Surikome Goshi, straight down the line. So it's the same kind of idea. You're gradually changing the angle on each of the three techniques.
Okay, we better move on. Kelly, are you going to have to leave us shortly?
I still got about 15 minutes, Gord. So we'll see how we do with the Kansetsu, and then I'll have to go. Our dojo has a Saturday class at the university, and Gord's here, so I got to go there.
Thank you. Moving on to Gyaku Jujujime.
The entry into Gyaku Jujujime is similar to the entry into Kata Jujujime. In Gyaku Jujujime, both fingers will be inserted into the collar. However, with Gyaku Jujujime, Tori's right hand slides directly to the side of the neck, as opposed to sliding around the head and then into the collar. To apply the choke, Tori will draw both hands inward. Uke reacts by pushing with his left hand and pulling down with his right hand against Tori's arms. Tori will roll to his left and continue to apply the choke, controlling Uke with his legs. Uke loses his balance and Tori pulls in to finish the choke. Tori does not allow Uke to roll on top of him. Throughout the technique, Tori keeps close contact with Uke.
I have to mention that in these examples from the Kodokan, you can see that they aren't quite as formal as you might see in competition. These are more in the practice situation. So Shoshida Sensei, who is the Tori in this example, would have been far more formal, and let's say in putting the arms back and so on. So just keep that in mind. Don't follow exactly what you see from the Kodokan camp. So here again, we move in from Toma to Chikama, put the arm to the side, climb over top after inserting left hand, then right hand, and then push to the side. At this point, it's important that Tori does not allow Uke to climb on top, over top of him, and Tori pulls his arms in so that Uke comes toward him to finish the choke. Then they put everything back. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Defense. And then the finishing off by pulling OK in. Submission. Back to Chikama, back to Toma, and move on to fixing up the judogis at the end of the set.
Is it required that Tori locks his ankles around the waist?
Crosses them, yes.
Yeah, yes. Is it a point deduction if that doesn't happen? Because again, that would differentiate if the uke was very large. That would not be necessarily possible.
If you remember, the first choke was very similar, and Tori wrapped his feet beside Uke's body while the Uke was pushing the elbow. This time is the same reaction, except Tori decides to lie down, and in order to control the body and bring him closer as possible, that's where the scissors happens. Yes, as a judge, you wanted to see that. If the Tori does not perform that scissors, that's the mark off.
And also, Mohammed, just while we're talking about marks, question from the chat. If Uke rolls over Tori, so here we can see they're on their side. If Tori went all the way onto his back, so Uke was more into the guard position, would that be a big mistake?
Actually, for me, that would be a big mistake. Yes.
Yeah. And I agree. For me, that would show that Tori lost control.
Absolutely.
That is loss of control.
Yeah.
Yep.
So big mistake.
Because the intention of a Tori is to choke, right? And if the Tori comes up, the choke is gone. It's like you're trying to do a Ponsei Nage and it doesn't work. The Tori is still standing.
Okay. Thank you. Right.
When laying down on the mat, Uke's arms should be at the side, left knee up, and legs closed. When sitting up, do it without your hands. When sitting, have your back straight, hands on your thighs, and the left leg bent. Kansetsu was Uke shall demonstrate one single attempt to escape, and Tori shall continue the arm or leg lock. After Tori moves Uke's arm and looks at Uke, Uke realistically grabs for Tori's right collar. Uke is trying to grab Tori and pull him down. Tori grabs Uke's left wrist and pins down Uke's left arm at about a 90-degree angle. Tori puts Uke's wrist at shoulder level and hand to the mat. Tori twists Uke's wrist and lifts Uke's elbow as he pulls it down toward his side. Tori presses his chest on top of Uke. Uke resists by lifting his shoulder and back.
Okay. So some of the things that we often look at when we do this one is that after the arm is placed to the side, what is Uke's intention here? His intention is to grab Tori's lapel, the right lapel, and pull him forward, pull him down. So that first grab should look like an attempt to grab, and Tori should grab the wrist and control it and bring it down to the mat. You should maintain chest-to-chest contact, keeping it low. And again, the defense is to try for Uke to try a twist to relieve the pain more than to really escape.
As a judge, you should check that Tori, when he grabs Uke's wrist, his thumb encircles them. It's not 4 fingers and thumb on top of his arm.
Yes.
For good control.
So in this example, it doesn't look like the thumb is brought around, but to really control the wrist, you want to have your hand, your grip right around the wrist with your thumb. Thank you.
Good. For the shimiwaza and kentetsuwaza, when you're approaching from the side, it looks as if there's the small step, the tiny little skip forwards, before he moves the arm, and then another one. This is correct, what I'm seeing?
Okay, this is him moving to Chikama. Does Chikama, and then he does a little
tiny one.
Shuffle, a forward shuffle, and then he picks up the arm.
And then he moves again.
Then he moves. This is similar to the other techniques where you leave your right hand in the armpit and you move your left knee ahead.
Okay, so there's 2 small steps.
I guess, yeah. Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. There was a question about the Kodokan textbook, I believe. And if I could just quickly show you that one, if I still have it. If you can see, this textbook is different from the Kodokan Illustrated. Front cover looks like that. There's one textbook for every kata. And in this Katame No kata, when you go into the Osai Komiwaza, for example, you'll see the different escapes listed right here. Each one has the 3 escapes that we're going through. Okay.
Gord, if I may, we finished Osai-waza and Shime-waza, and in all those techniques, the attempt was made by Tori. In this case, in Kansai-waza, action, for example, in this technique is an attempt by Uke trying to pull, as Gord said, Tori down to the mat. We have to be, as a judges, cognizant of the realism here. We have to make sure we keep eye on where is that Uke is trying to reach, how much that Tori is leaning forward, when is Tori is reacting to Uke's action, which we didn't have these on the other 10 techniques before. So it becomes almost like a Naganakata Goshinjutsu is Uke is attacking and Tori is reacting. We have to make sure the timings are correct, and if there's anticipation or there's a lack of realism, we need to make sure there's a 3 points mark taken off.
Thank you, Mohammed. Just to remind you again that this is a very unusual kata in that Tori is the one that initiates. Uke is then taking action. So in the Osai Komiwaza, you saw that Tori applied the technique and then Uke had to react. In this case here, Tori is placed himself into a position where he is now has the intention to attack, and often that's the case where he looks down right there, and when he looks down, then Uke starts to grab or try to do his action. So it's a little different from the other katas where we always say Uke initiates. In this case here, Tori has the intention to attack, but Uke will also take his actions. A little different. Okay, moving on. Let's get ahead. Here we go.
While Tori is approaching, Uke attempts to grab Tori's left collar. Tori grabs Uke's wrist, places his right foot under Uke's armpit, toes pointed in, and the left foot pulled tight against Uke's neck and shoulder. Bad example where Tori's hip is too far away to control Uke's shoulder and his knees are apart. Uke tries to escape by turning to his left and twisting over his shoulder. To prevent the escape, Tori must close his thighs and control Uke's head and shoulder. Tori needs to control Uke's arm and not let him bend it.
So here again, this time there is no arm placement to the side. This time as Tori approaches and he looks down, then Uke will reach. And again, it should look like he's trying to really reach it rather than just give him his hand. It should be a case where, as mentioned before, that Tori takes good firm grip with both hands around Uke's wrist, that Tori comes in firmly with his right foot, the right knee into the armpit of Uke. And then when he steps over, he maintains tight control of Uke's head and shoulders, keeping his knees tight together. If it's loose, then you'll probably see that Uke can really twist around because he's trying to get in a straight line and roll. But in this case, if it's tight, then there's no way that Uke will be able to rotate. You can see that the head of Tori is off the mat, and he's got his feet very tight, close together. Places the arm back to the side and then moves back into Chikaba position. Okay. Moving on, I'm just going to go ahead. Tori moves Uke's right arm and approaches and shows an intent to attack. Uke grabs at Tori's right collar. As Uke reaches for Tori, Tori traps Uke's wrist with his neck. Tori does not allow Uke to bend his arm. Tori uses his right hand to turn Uke's elbow and then his left hand to control the lock. Tori locks Uke's wrist with his neck and applies pressure on Uke's elbow. Tori uses his right knee against Uke's body to prevent escape. After completing Ude Katame, Tori moves back to Chikama and then back to Toma. So as we mentioned before, Uke has to make an attempt to grab Tori's lapel. Tori then takes control of the arm, making sure that he maintains pressure on Uke's wrist with his neck and his shoulder, making sure that his right knee is keeping Uke controlled. You can see the right knee at the belt area, and then extending the arm up with the palms on palm. Right palm came on first, then left palm came on top of the other hand. Then he moves back into Chikama and then to Toma.
Gord, if I may interject. Yes. On the, if you have studied and looked at your kata competition criteria in 2022 January, you see there's a particular emphasis on the control of that wrist by Tori. If you look at even this Tori, which is one of my most favorite Tories, and he was world champion many times, he very clearly shows to you as a judge, he's controlling that wrist with his head bending towards the wrist. Now IGF requires the Tori to demonstrate the control of that wrist with, as Gord said, with the head and the shoulder. So as a judge, you are required to look for both. By just bending his neck towards the wrist and controlling it is not sufficient anymore. He has to clearly demonstrate as a Tori that that wrist is controlled by the head and the shoulder.
Yeah, and controlled with the head and neck throughout. So not just at the beginning, but even as he turns, he has to maintain nice tight control on that
Correct.
wrist.
Correct.
Right. How far off the mat can Uke go? Good question. I assume that that question was related to how far Uke is lifted off the mat, I believe. If you have good tight control of the knee, but you have to remember that the arm is being extended up, then the amount of lift, I think it is not necessarily a error as long as that the arm is nicely locked. Would you agree, Mohammed?
100%, Gordy, you're correct. The ability or flexibility of Uke to come up a little bit high, you can see this Uke coming up pretty high, is almost on his right elbow. As a judge, that's not the indicator the technique is wrong or right. That control of the knee doesn't allow Uke to turn anyways. If that knee wasn't there, Uke rising his body up, yes, he can get up and escape from that arm lock, but Tori very skillfully controlling that body with the knee, and the elbow is being twisted. So as a judge, you don't really care how much that Uke can come up.
Here's another good question though. What kind of mistake is it if the wrist is not well controlled by the head and shoulder? That would be not having control. So
that's
Mohammed
the medium.
would say,
Yeah, that's the medium mistake, is a principle of the technique. As you know, the technique is that wrist is being controlled, and if that wrist is free, Uke can pull his arm down no matter how far that Tori twists that elbow and control that elbow with both hands. If that wrist is not controlled, is there's no consensus. So the principle of this technique is missing, so is a medium mistake.
thank you. Okay, moving
and
on.
sits in Kyoshi. Both Tori and Uke then sit in Kyoshi at Toma. Tori moves forward 2 steps into Chikama and sits in Kyoshi. Both move slightly ahead to grab each other. Tori traps Uke's wrist under his left armpit, puts his right foot in Uke's groin area, lies down, left foot turned inside on Uke's right side. Uke attempts to escape by pushing his arms forward, but Tori uses his feet to push Uke back. From another angle. Tori also closes his armpit to tighten Uke's arm by pushing with his left foot. Tori keeps hold of Uke to prevent his escape.
Okay. So don't think there's any questions about the movement here from Toma to Chikama, Kyoshi, and then they move slightly ahead to each other, take a regular grip. Tori will then encircle the arm so that the wrist ends up in his armpit. Tori will bring his right foot up, and then they fall to the side or corner, diagonal, You can notice how the Tori's right foot is placed on top of Uke's hip. And you can, if you apply a lot of pressure by rotating your hip even further, you'll have more pressure of the knee on top of your hand. At this point here, Uke is to try to do an escape. And usually that's either moving ahead or pushing his arm. This example wasn't very clear on an escape, but there should be an escape attempt, and Tori will react by often controlling with the legs, so you might see a change in the elevation of Uke's hips from a higher position to a lower position, but there should be evidence of an escape attempt.
Gord, if I may,
Yes.
these last two technique, the Hiza Katame and Ashigarami, are very difficult techniques for the judges to evaluate, because as you can see, the techniques goes away. We call it go away techniques in as judges. So it's pretty hard for you to see what is going on, especially this camera is helping us a little bit. But if you're sitting in a Joseki table, the distance and the angle you'll be looking, it's very, very difficult. So a few items that is very important in this technique in your evaluation is that Gord mentioned that trapping that wrist of the right wrist of the Uke on their arm, on the neo criteria, is not just placing it anymore, it's actually trapping it. So if you can see, by just wrapping the arm is not good enough. You have to actually show the demonstration of control of that wrist by the armpit, is trapping it. And when it goes down, for the actually the consensus was, as Gord said, there has to be an attempt by Uke trying to move, and then what you see from your position where you are as a judge, Uke is being pulled even one level lower. So these are the the only few things that you only have a view of it. So you need to be cognizant of these 3-4 items. The try to escape by Uke, where the arms trapped on the armpit of the Tori, and when he goes down, it is sort of, the breaks down to 2 level. If you don't mind playing that again, you can see when the Tori drops and then Uke goes one lower, even lower, one level lower. So these are the things as a judge you only can see from that position. Thanks, Gord.
If I may add to what Mohammed said, two common mistakes by Uke is one that he goes on his stomach, and another common mistake by Tori is he blocks the knee rather than the abdomen.
Yeah, there you can see that the foot is high. It's not down at the knee area.
It's in a groin, actually. The neo criteria are very clear. It has to be in the groin area.
Yeah, groin area. Thank you.
Thank you, Gord.
They stand up at grip distance. Tori attempts Tomoe Nage. Uke steps forward and pulls Tori up. As Uke lifts, Tori brings his hip inside and puts his right foot against Uke's knee. Tori wraps his left leg over and under Uke's right leg and performs a leg lock on Uke's straight leg. Tori uses his hand to keep Uke from escaping to his left. Uke submits by tapping the mat. In Ashigarami, Tori pressures against Uke's knee and not his hip.
All right. So they take grips, steps in for Tomoe. You can see how Uke steps forward with his right foot. Now Tori will circle his leg over and through Uke's right leg, as well as pushing away with his right foot against Oke's left knee. When they fall, Oke will try to move to his left, but Tori maintains good grips and is able to keep Oke in. One thing that you should see, or you can see, I think, and this is where Oke's have to really work at, is to make sure that his foot is not turned so that the toes are pointed down, because if that's the case, then toes pointed down means that the knee is also pointed down. If the knee is pointed down, then there is no leg lock at all. So any Oke that's out there knows that if the leg is straight, the pressure of the leg lock will work. If you want to relieve pressure, you twist your knee down to the mat, which is not a good demonstration of that technique. But submission, and then return to their far positions.
This technique points out what Muhammad just said earlier. It's a very difficult technique to judge because you can't see anything. Their backs are towards the Joseki.
Yeah, you're going to see basically the rear end of Tori, but look at the leg. That'll be one thing, I think. Pressure should be on the side. Okay, and just to find a closing.
Tori moves back 2 steps in Toma and sits in Kyoshi. Then Oke moves back 1 step and also sits in Kyoshi. Both adjust their judogi, stand up, take 1 step back to close the kata and bow. First in the kneeling position and then in the standing position towards Shomen.
Just a point of note that Kodokan, they never use tape. So that's why it's a little hard to see, but you can look at the lines and assume that they're basically on the line for their bow out. So just to give you one more example, 2 steps back, you can see that when you're moving Shiko, that your knee should stay down. If you're moving your head, the angle should be that the toe is not pointed 9 degrees, but more diagonal with your right foot. And then when you stand up, natural posture to the heels together position behind the tape. Where your feet are, where your knees drop down to. Again, try to keep your back straight, your hip down, work in synchronization with your partner. Okay, I'm looking at the time, so I don't want to extend us too far. I will leave it. Any final question? Keeping in mind that we are a little short of time. If you have other questions, please put it into the chat and we'll get back to you after on that. Mohammed, will you have any closing remarks?
Gord, as you can recall, we're moving on to the Kata Commission's new criteria. Just a few items from that before our closing. So
The evaluation?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I can call that up. I was.
Can you please bring it 2022?
Yes.
Thank you. If anybody has a question, feel free. While we have Gord here, we have probably another 10-15 minutes left to our course. As you all know, as I described earlier, there's 2 sides to our presentation for every kata. We do review the kata itself, the techniques and the escapes and the attacks. At the same time, we have if I can call it respectfully, a Bible, which is called Kata Competition Criteria. And every few years, IGF updates our manual. And as you all know, the director of kata for IGF is Daniel De Angelis from Judo Canada. So we always have the right off the press information from him, and we all are familiar with this, hopefully, which you should need to be, because your questions from your examination after this session will come from here. There are a few things that I already mentioned in regards to the Katame no kata. For example, about Ashigarami, there are new additions. In Katame no kata, we didn't have a lot of interpretation and description of it, but I'd like to bring to attention a few things. This question has always come up, and we finally, at IGF, we standardize it as far as bowing is concerned. I wish we had a picture of a competition area. As you know, competition area for kata is usually either 8 meter by 8 meter or 10 meter by 10 meters. If you can picture us where the judges are sitting, imaginary judges where the Josaki is, you're looking at the far distance at each corner of the contest area that you expect uke and tori waiting. Depending on the kata, they have to choose their side correctly. And they wait in the corner of the contest area. If you have a safety tatami red in the corner of the outside red, or if there's a yellow or blue in the outside corner, uke and tori wait. The center judge stands up and invites them to the contest area. They start walking to the outside of the contest area, facing each other in the center of the contest area. And that's where you actually, your opening ceremony evaluation starts. So as soon as they're facing each other in the center of a contest area, outside of the contest area, the first bow is to the contest area. And that's when exactly you start marking their opening ceremony. They come in, and based on the kata, they perform certain bowing to the josaki, to themselves. Maybe it's a seiza bow or a standing bow, whatever the case is. Through all of that, before the first technique starts, that's when your opening ceremony is. If you can picture it, when they are done and they are inside the 6 meters area, when they step out and they bow to each other, they turn to the josaki, they bow to the josaki, and they step out and outside of the contest area. Again, they bow to the contest area. As soon as they finished bowing to the contest area, that's when the closing ceremony ends. So in the old days, we used to bow, and I don't want to confuse anyone, but from outside of the tatami all the way in was the opening and closing, not anymore. On the way out, you turn your back towards josaki. It's okay. Actually, now under new rules, you must. Old days, actually, even the last World Championships, I saw in my mat that when they bow to the contest area on the way out, they just want to be respectful to josaki, and uke and tori walk backwards all the way to outside of the tatami area. That's not correct anymore. So when you bow, you just basically turn your back to josaki, and you walk all the way out. The rest of the criteria is really, it's kata specific. I don't want to get into much to it. I just want to talk about a bowing part. We talked during the kata and description of Gord. I interjected enough where I needed to be more clear. Katame no kata is very unique. As Gord mentioned, they are not similar to nage or go shinjitsu, uke attacking. Realism is still important. Escapes are important. If there are on the new criteria, if your belt opens up in Katame no kata, the mistakes are the same, big mistakes. If you have a cell phone in your judo gi, or if you have your tape that you finger your tape, which has happened at the international level. If there's a tape inside your jacket and while you're performing your kata, it falls off. It's a big mistake. Outside tools that you don't need for your kata, you'll be penalized for it. As far as big mistakes and the small and medium mistakes are concerned, again, every kata is different, but generality speaking, I mentioned it during the kata that if the principle of the technique is missing, it's a medium mistakes. Distances are not followed, it's a medium mistake. As judges, we have the authority or power to use our own discretion with adding or subtracting and half a point, which is given to us to be a little bit more subjective based on our desires and how we think things should be done for each technique. Also, starting on the right side for each kata is very, very important. Uki and Tori, they have to follow their side of the contest area for start. There's also a big mistakes if you switch your techniques, as you know, will be a forgotten technique. If you're supposed to, you know, you drop something or your technique is misplaced, these are mistakes that is actually a major mistakes, which penalized as closely as and as equally as forgotten technique, which means you get 0 for that technique, and all your marks would divide it to half at the end. One very unique things that some of you guys are maybe not heard, the recent World Championships, we have moved to the direction of notepads. So we do no longer use sheets, manual sheets and pen and pencils to mark our katas. We are in Canada for the first time. We are going to use that system at Saint Jean Richelieu, which is at the end of this month. I sincerely invite anybody is local or wish to fly to Montreal. We're running a full day seminar at Saint Jean Richelieu, which is open to all Judo Canada paid up members. It's going to be a very friendly environment. Our national coach, Gordo Kimura, is going to be running a session. Also, I'd like to, at this point, mention it that in Judo Canada, we have adopted kata experts. Across Canada, we have identified individuals across Canada that they are considered as a kata experts. Today, you had the pleasure of being entertained by one, which is national coach Gordo Kimura, is our Katame No kata expert. We have John Morris as who's also chair of kata committee in British Columbia. He's our Nagano kata expert. We have Sensei Duncan Vagnali from Ontario. He is our kimono kata expert. We have Goshin Jitsu, which is Sensei Yves Laundry from Quebec. We have Madame Hardy as our Juno kata expert. And did I miss anyone? No, I didn't. So we have these kata experts that in the future we'll be using for our seminars. It's not all going to be done by Judo Canada Kata Committee, as you experienced it today. And all these 5 individuals, hopefully we will be on the mat at Saint Jean Richelieu. We will be more detailed in all of our katas. So in closing, I'm very grateful on behalf of our CEO, Mr. Nicholas Gill. I appreciate you guys all being here. I appreciate Haidan senseis who have given us the pleasure of having them tonight here. Also, the chair of kata committees from various provinces are here. We are very honored to have you. Please feel free to send us an email with any feedback you have. We always open. We are in your service. Our desire is to improve our processes and procedures, and definitely education is the key element of our aspiration in our committee to ensure the high performance kata and grassroots kata is taught all across Canada. So please provide your feedback and stay tuned for our future kata seminars. If you're already a certified kata judge, please use these sessions as your professional development and join us and make these seminars much more fruitful. And if you know anybody who's interested to learn more katas and future katas, please, if you see a flyer coming out on Judo Canada website or your provincial website, please promote this. This is our beloved sport, and the more we get together, the more we learn, the better we are for it. If there's any question or comments in closing, please feel free.
Mohammed, I thought I just addressed 2 more questions for us. One question we had was, what is the escape from Ashigarami? In this case here, I'm assuming that you still can see the video. What Uke is trying to do is to shift away from Tori, moving to his left, try and pull away. And what Tori does is to control with his grip by pulling him back in. The other question was, what happens if you change the order, doing a kurieri before hadaka? That would be, and the question is that two forgotten techniques? It is a forgotten technique. And as you know, forgotten technique is basically the kiss of death for a competition. Your score will be 0 and your other will be halved. Right, Mohammed?
Yes, that is correct, Gord.
Yeah. There's one part of the video I wasn't sure if I was allowed to show. There's some of the examples of mistakes. And I thought I'd just share you that piece of the video because it was kind of fun looking at this stuff. So just 2 more minutes to hang in there. I just want to run this part here. And that's it. So some things to think about. Hopefully that the one about missing what's next doesn't happen to you in competition. That's it for me. Any final comments, questions? I think we're good then. Yes.
Wait, a quick question, if I may.
Yes, Rob.
We mentioned during Ude Hishigi, Ude Gatame, that not having the clear control of Uke's wrist with the head and shoulders would be a medium mistake because there was no control for the technique. We also mentioned during Gyaku Juji Jime, that if the uke rolls on top of tori, then there's also no control shown by tori, but in that case, it would be a major mistake. Was there a reason for the difference between it being a major mistake and a minor mistake between the two losses of control?
For me, loss of control, you have to look at how serious a loss of control it is. So just because we say loss of control doesn't necessarily mean that it flips into this category versus the other category. It's hard without showing different examples, but yeah, by the textbook, if you see loss of control, in most katas, that would be a big mistake.
Rob, if I may, since you mentioned two specific technique, the controlling of the wrist, it's the demonstration to a judge that you actually, with your action, you're showing. It's very hard for me from that distance that I'm sitting at Josaki to see you have a control on that wrist or not. All I can see your action, which is indicating to me that you have a control, which is bending your head towards the wrist and lifting the shoulder to lock that. That's all I can see. I cannot feel that. But in this demonstration of when the tori loses the control and uke comes on the top, is a very clear indication that tori has lost the control and uke has taken over, and is actually a big mistake, not a major mistake. So it's you as a judge need to, that's what I said at the beginning, as a kata judge, very different than a referee at the Shiai, that you have to have done this kata. You have to know as a judge, how does it look like? How does it feel like? What the reaction would be? As I said again, I reiterate on, controlling the wrist is basically a movement of the body of a tori to be an indicator to me that that's a lock. I cannot feel it, I cannot see it, there's nothing intangible. But when the uke turns and comes on top of the tori, it's a complete clear indication of a loss of a control. So, and the first one is actually not a medium mistake for the control list, medium or small. So if you don't control the wrist with the head and the shoulder, that will be medium. But if you bring the shoulder and not the wrist, is a small, is a discretion for also for a judge. I hope I explained it.
To add to what Mohammed said, when you lose control of the wrist, you still have your knee on uke. He's not going anywhere. But when uke comes up on top of you, he has the opportunity to either take control or escape.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Wonderful. Thank you all. I really appreciate that clarification. That helps me.
You're very welcome, Rob. Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody has their microphone on, but basically just a reminder that the video of this recording of this session will be made available. And so you should be able to replay the video part, my video part of it, and hear our comments. So I think, again, we're at the finish. I thank you very much for your time. And again, we'll hopefully see each other in person. Clinics are much better if we can do it in person, but failing that, you have us on Zoom. So thank you very much, and that'll be it.
Thank you all.
Good session, Gord.
Thank you.
Thank you all.